afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. You have Ali Corm and Ed Carson here with a breakdown of what went down in today's session. Indexes adding to their winning streak today, Ed, and we will get to that. And an interesting day for a number of growth stocks and highly valued names out there as well.
Yeah, Ali, while the leading stocks definitely led today, Airbnb, Shopify, and ZIM integrated shipping all had strong action. Definitely want to look at those today.
Yes, we will check in on those names. And first, a look at what happened with the major indexes today. So the Nasdaq hitting a milestone today, clearing the 15,000 mark with a gain of about 0.5% today. We had the Russell 2000 small caps in the lead, up about 1%, although that's been the lagging group, Ed. We had the S&P 500 and Dow up about to 0.1% apiece. So interesting action here for the Nasdaq with it clearing that 15,000 mark.
Yeah, it's amazing. Jeff Fahmy, who is going to be on Friday on IBD Live, he had this thing on Twitter showing this, angry Chihuahua, and that's reflecting Thursday morning's action, Thursday morning, and then we had a nice happy Chihuahua reflecting yesterday's close. I mean, it's amazing what just a couple of good days, how this transforms. It's not just the Nasdaq and these indexes, which are looking healthier. They were at key levels, but so many leading stocks were faltering. They were, struggling for a while, sort of starting to break down. And, now a lot of those names are looking stronger. There's been some big moves. So really a big shift in the last few days. And it's a reason why investors have to be flexible. Boy, I'm glad, hope everyone was listening to Charles Harris on Friday when he was saying he was feeling pretty bullish, and he was pretty right on.
Yeah, great to be in tune with the market on IBD Live and to stay nimble, flexible, open-minded. All of those great things really pays off if you are paying attention in the market, and a couple days, as you said, could make a huge difference, not only in the market, but your portfolio as well. So with that in mind, let's also take a look at IWM, the Russell 2000, signaling maybe at least for now some improving breadth in the market, but do we still have a little ways to go on that front?
Yeah, really nice to be able to get above the 50-day line and the high from a few weeks ago, just as a minimum level. But obviously, it's still a much better situation. It's in repair mode as opposed to breaking below the 200-day, threatening to basically go to its lowest levels of the year. So it's definitely looks a lot better than it did on Thursday.
And we'll just take a look at SPY, which tracks the S&P 500. Strength there after pulling in close, not quite touching though its 50-day line as it did in prior pullbacks, but a reversal last Thursday near a key level, and the Dow, after coming down to its 50-day line, bouncing as well. Looks like not quite at highs yet, but a streak of gains for sure. And Airbnb, a big topic of discussion on IBD Live, and a lot of interest in this name from our audience, closing the day up 10%. So a huge move, surpassing not only recent highs, but also a high back in late June, and clearing that 160 level.
Yeah, I mean, this is really nice. I mean, you can sort of see a bottoming base starting with that 157 area as sort of a cup with handle. So we're saying that the buy point was at that handle area, and I think the buy point extends out to just over 160. So it's already a little extended. So I probably wouldn't want to chase it here. There's just the risk of a pullback just with any stock. Nice action. This is benefiting from a couple of nice things. I mean, look, highly valued growth stocks doing pretty well the last couple of days, and also travel stocks in general, not just Airbnb. Travel stocks are rebounding the last several days. I think investors are starting to price in the hopes that maybe you're starting to see a leveling off, like in cases, new cases, especially in the South where vaccination rates were lower. It's picking up. Those things seem to be leveling off. So anyway, whatever the reason, nice action here. Still a lot of overhead, but wow, look at that volume. Really, really powerful on that day.
Yes, powerful volume as well, which is what we like to see, and a potential turnaround for the stock. We'll have to see. Like you pointed out, that bottoming base here, maybe this is the beginning of a next big move higher for Airbnb. We will have to see. And next on our list, we want to check in on Shopify, one of the enterprise software stocks that saw a big move in May and June. July, a little choppier, but ultimately finding support near where you want to see it, even though unlike other enterprise software stocks, Shopify started looking like, well, maybe this stock is starting to lag here, but that can all change with a headline, which is what we saw today with Shopify on news of a deal with TikTok and making this stock flash a buy signal today, Ed.
Yeah, so it went above its 50-day line, so it recaptured its old buy point. I don't know if that's super relevant, but it's nice to see that. And it's sort of breaking a downtrend, especially if you sort of skip that one up day, or even if you do either way, if you skip it or not, it's probably above the trend line. So lots of little mini, buy signals there. It was really choppy. We saw a lot of those software names go choppy. Some of them did better than others. One nice thing about the Nasdaq coming down for a couple of weeks is that it didn't give the same kind of head fakes. And now if it's moving, there's a little bit of space. And actually on a weekly chart, I believe at the end of this week, if it stays in this range, I think it would have a flat base. So that's, you could have seen, today, and it's probably still in that range of an early entry, and then, you could always add to it. But there is, a potential flat base after sort of a deep base. And that's often, sometimes we've talked about it. Oh, you have the deep base, it runs up. Sometimes you want to wait for another little consolidation as a safer spot. And this might be an instant where that works.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point, Ed, about the Nasdaq's action and how maybe we will start to see some setups work, because this was a trend line that we had drawn together on IBD Live, I believe, and this was fake out, shake out from an early entry. So if we can start seeing some of these new setups working, that would definitely be great for investors who are trading our style of stocks. And what about the breakout that we saw today for ZIM integrated shipping in the transportation shipping group? 30 out of 197, the groups that IBD tracks, a standout IPO run. This is its first base post that IPO move. And now we're seeing the stock break out to new highs.
Yeah, we're seeing the shipping stocks do well. I mean, a lot of them had strong earnings, ZIM as well. The shipping rates are just at record highs, or at least decade highs. The cargo demand is booming as the economy comes back, and it takes a long time to build another ship. I mean, you can't meet the demand quickly. So there's lots of different shipping companies in here. This one I think is referred to as a taxi cab service, as opposed to other kind of things in there. There's definitely in there, but it would have been nice if this had formed a handle. It did have sort of a shakeout for a day, which isn't the best. It's something. But at least there's a lot of volume. And I think that's one concern when you see cup bases, is that you see them racing straight off the bottom and they're on light volume. At least there was some volume in this run. Last week, really high volume. Wow. And this week it's already almost at average volume after 2 days. So presumably this will be really high. And the RS line is right at record highs. So those are all positives. So there's a lot of good fundamentals behind this, and others in its field. Oh, and there's the dividend as well.
Yes. Yeah. Go ahead and give us more insight about how that's impacting the stock.
I knew there was something else I wanted to say, but I just kept on talking, and we can get to it. There was a $2 special dividend that's being paid out, and so that is important because MarketSmith, we factor that in when it's a large, like 4% or so. Of the share price, we factor that in and adjust the stock price, because the stock is understandably going to come down off of that. So a lot of people, like on some sites, you might see that ZIM was down for most of the day, or maybe it ended up like 88 cents or something like that. But as a practical matter, if you held it, if you were only up effectively 88 cents, but you gained a $2 dividend, that's sort of how we adjusted it. And it does seem like that's a legitimate breakout, and that does seem to work with, when you look at other stocks with dividends like that. So you may not see it that way, but the actual ending price is there. And if you owned it, you already got your $2 dividend. So you can't be too upset.
Yeah, very important thing to discuss about this chart, how we handle that. But this is a group that we've been paying attention to, even though it did trigger a sell signal. Going back to the weekly chart when it closed below, and this one was a little tricky because it closed, just more than 2% below the 10-week line, but you could argue that it was still holding support. Anyway, as it was building this base, a little bit tricky, but did ultimately fall enough below the 10-week line that investors may have opted to move their money elsewhere. You don't know how long that base building process is going to take. But as these shipping stocks started retaking their 10-week lines, squarely back on our radar over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and then while you say, well, why don't you buy at the bottom? Well, where is the bottom? You don't know where the bottom is until after the fact. That's it. It's always in hindsight. Oh, look, you should have bought right there, but you don't know. And there can be head fakes that's kind of rallied for a little bit and then rolled over. Your odds are just much better when you find, buy points, whether it's at a traditional breakout or going through some early entries, and we've been identifying those a lot more. Just to raise your odds in a choppy market, you want to try to make sure that the odds are really in your favor.
Right, because I guess you could say the same thing about Zoom, Peloton, Tesla. Late spring over the summer, if you tried to get in on some of those before they really did find their bottoms, and to be honest, I haven't looked at Zoom's chart in quite a while, and Peloton that much either. But you're exactly right, Ed. We want to be putting the odds in our favor, looking for those setups as stocks are showing strength. So we will continue to do that. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in today. We will be back with more tomorrow morning on IBD Live, where we are talking about actionable trade ideas in real time, including Airbnb, one of the ones that we highlighted on the show this morning, and so much more. A great 90 minutes of unscripted discussion of market conditions, our strategies for portfolio management, buy and sell rules, and so much more. So we hope you join us, investors.com/IBD Live. We will see you then tomorrow and back here after the close.